And it was a relatively straightforward victory for Donegal against Tyrone. Brian McGuigan is with us this morning. Brian, I didn't expect it to be a straightforward victory for either team in this, but Tyrone didn't really manage to lay glove properly on Donegal.
No, look, it's disappointing from a Tyrone perspective that we went out rather tamely in the Ulster Championship, and I know last year Monaghan beat us, but I think it was maybe a point or two in it, but the performance was good. But I think that's what annoys us the most about Saturday, that we went out so tamely and a lot of our players didn't perform, and maybe a lot of our decisions on the line. And I would be one that would always back Mickey no matter what he does. But I thought some of even his decisions were a bit baffling on Saturday, even before the game. I know my own clubmate Michael Cassidy, who the first two games, you talk about young lads taking their chance whenever you get it, and Michael Cassidy got in, took his chance in the two games against Derry and Antrim, and then was mysteriously dropped for the game on Saturday. And even when he came on Saturday, he seemed to play well. And I know Mickey likes taking risks, and he thought that Liam Rafferty could come on and do a job on Ryan McHugh, but for a rookie to come in and mark one of the best players in Ulster, it just didn't work out. But I think Mickey will hold his hands up and say that he did get it wrong.
Tyrone have been incredibly impressive when they've gone Route 1 this year, but the thing is, defending against Route 1, it's a fairly simple fix. You just put more men behind the ball, you get more men to crowd out someone like Al McShane. That's exactly what Donegal did in the second quarter of the game. Were you surprised with the lack of reaction from Tyrone tactically to that?
Yeah, well, look, I know Tyrone last year, the way they played, they knew they had to change it up a bit, I think. And you've seen the latter stages of the championship last year, that they were kicking the ball more. And with Cathal McShane in there, it gave them that Route 1 ball in. Now, if you looked at the tactics Donegal used the other day, I think they used two players to mark Cathal McShane. See my buddy here. I think they had two players marking him, and I even think at times Patton was giving Cathal McShane a bit of hassle in there. So you really had three players in there. I think, it'll be a learning experience for Cathal McShane, but the problem with Tyrone now is that they're trying to come up with a new system of play, and it is more attacking. But the problem is it leaves holes in defence, and you've seen, especially in the first half against Donegal the other day, they had a lot of balls through the middle, Donegal balls through the middle, which you don't associate with this Tyrone team. So, it's trying to get that balance right. And the unfortunate thing is that we're talking about trying to go more attacking and not be as defensive. But for Tyrone to probably win that game, they had to revert back to type and play the way they did in, say, 2 years ago or last year, when it was more defensive, because you see, they couldn't unlock the Donegal defence. The way Donegal played, Tyrone just couldn't cope with it. They couldn't get any attacking fluidity going in their play, and we just played in the Donegal's hands.
So is that terminal then for this year? If you're going to only play one way during a game and not be able to mix and match the two styles, which should be relatively straightforward for a Tyrone team who are expert at the original style of play that they had up until this year, is that terminal if you can't work it out in a game like Donegal? Are you going to be able to find a way to do that in the qualifiers, for example, and then later on in the Super 8s? Or maybe a run in the qualifiers is actually what this team needs to work out. It's a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B.
Yeah, well, look, we could put it down to a bad day at the office, or maybe it's just we're having the players that's gonna challenge for all Ireland's. But I don't know if we have to change our system, because the way we were playing last year didn't get us anywhere. We didn't win nothing. So, and to please the supporters of Tyrone, we'll have to be more ambitious, and we do have a lot of good footballers. The problem now is we have a lot of players up front, scorers who have left the panel. You take Mark Bradley, Ronan O'Neill and Lee Brennan. They're types of players that maybe could walk off the likes of Cathal McShane, and they just weren't there. The other thing is, I think the way we're playing now hasn't suited a couple of our key players who were excellent this past couple of years, and that was Colin Kavanagh and Niall Sludden. Niall Sludden was actually dropped for the game on Sunday, and if you had said that this time last year, you would never have thought it. So you take up front with no Niall Sludden and Peter Harte for most of the first half on Saturday, so they were major losses. And I don't think we'll have to change our style, but I do think it's a reality check for this squad of players, and it'd be interesting to see how they reacted to him this week, because the players have to react the right road. Are they going to start talking behind backs and maybe a couple of players maybe even pull out? Because I know even the likes of my own clubmate Kyle Cooney, who is an outstanding forward, he didn't even get a look on Sunday. In this past few weeks, start games are on in club football, and he hasn't been playing for his club, and now he hasn't been playing for his county. Is he going to start thinking about, will I just go back to my club? So it'll be interesting to see what way the qualifier draw goes this morning and who they get, and see if they can get a bit of momentum built up before the Super 8s.
Right, it feels like it's on a bit of a knife edge then in Tyrone at the moment.
Yeah, well, look, you know yourself, if you get a defeat, you know, the knives, and especially the supporters will have the knives out for Mickey. But as I said before, look, Mickey loves taking risks, and the decisions he made, he will try and justify them on Saturday. And yes, they didn't work out on Saturday, but in the future, Mickey has to stick by his guns. And there's plenty of times in the past where he's took risks, and if it didn't pay off, history could have been different. But lucky enough, they did. So we know Mickey's still a good manager, but you have to be honest and say that Mickey was tactically beat on the line on Saturday too. And where's Donegal at the minute? This time last year, they were cruising through Ulster, but I think the big difference was they lost Paddy McBurdy last year. They now have Stephen Rochford in. It's very easy when a new man comes in to say that he's tactically there and he's making a difference for Donegal. But I think that's unfair on Declan Bonner. So look, I think with Jamie Brennan, Paddy McBurdy, Michael Murphy, and Ryan McHugh up front, I think that they really are a match for anybody, and the young players really are coming of age. You even have to look at Ban Gallagher and Hugh McFadden. I thought they were excellent at the weekend, and even Sean Padden. The way when I know Tyrone weren't there, but there were certain times near the end where you thought maybe you got the 4 points and Tyrone maybe could make a surge. Sean Padden just found his man straight away, so he eased the pressure on them.
One final point. It felt a little bit like Tiernan McCann let the county down at the weekend, because he's such a brilliant footballer, but he just has some stuff in his makeup where he just can't help himself sometimes.
Well, I know you might think this is a bit of bias for me, but what we've seen on the county, seen from Tiernan McCann, that is nowhere near what the type of player that Tiernan McCann is. I think he was a bit frustrated the other day. But look, the pictures don't lie. I think we'll be lucky to see any more of Tiernan McCann this year, because it's been highlighted in the media. I think that the GA is going to have to take action, because it did look ugly at the time, and there is no defending that. And I'm not going to sit here and defend Tiernan McCann, but the one thing I will say is that it's definitely not letting Tiernan McCann's nature to do what he's doing on the county scene. I don't know what it is, what comes over him, but when I see him club football, when I know of him personally, it's not him. It's not him. But I do agree that action has to be taken.
Anytime you hear him talking as well, like he's such a clever guy, really articulate, and then sometimes stuff like this happens, and it's very hard to reconcile those two things. So maybe somebody can have a word and that can come out of his game, because we've seen other players take it out of their game and not lose any of their efficiency as a footballer over the years. So certainly you would hope that.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, you know, Tiernan McCann, he burst on the scene. He did a great couple of years there, but I think on top of that now, he's been playing poorly for Tyrone, and as I said, it probably is a bit of frustration. I don't think Donegal or Declan Bonner would be too worried about it today. Now they don't have to worry about it.
Tyrone obviously gave Dublin not their fill of it, but plenty in Oma last year in the Super 8s. Can Donegal or Tyrone come back to a point where they can credibly? Certainly Donegal will feel that they absolutely could if they get the dubs. Give them a game over 70, 75, 80 minutes, however long it's going to take.
Yeah, well, I think now looking at the game on Saturday, I think Donegal is better equipped than Tyrone to put it up to Dublin, because the thing about the Donegal players is that they're physically there, and probably to match Dublin, you have to be physically there, and you have to think there's a lot of good working on Donegal. But I think the thing that let Tyrone down the pass against Dublin was defensively they were able to cope with Dublin to a certain level, but they couldn't do it on the other end of the field. I think now Donegal can do that all the end of the field, and I know Paddy McBurdy's only coming back, but I think the more games he gets and the more games he plays in the Super 8s, this is where the Super 8s might help Donegal. that the more game time he gets, he could be a major influence. And as I said before, they probably were a bit over-reliant on Paddy McBurdy in the past, and they're looking at all his scores from him. But now he has that foil beside him there, and Jamie Brennan. I think that they're going to be a great twin threat, and it means that you don't have to play Michael Murphy as far up the field to get scores. You can play him deeper, and you could see what he done on Saturday. I thought he was immense. I thought he was man of the match on Saturday, and people are saying he's the best player of his generation. Well, he's definitely starting to prove it now.
Yeah, he's right up there. Brian and family, thanks very much for joining us this morning. Cheers.
Thanks, boys.
Good stuff. That's Brian McGuigan. Always great to have him on the show.